This is VOCM Open Line. Call 709-273-5211 or 1-888-590-8626. The views and opinions of this program are not necessarily those of this station. The biggest conversation in Newfoundland and Labrador starts now.
Well, good Monday morning, everyone. And when I say good, what I actually mean to say is here we go again. Brian Callahan with you this morning. Greg Smith producing the show behind the glass. And yeah, it's a mess out there right now here for sure in Metro. You know the drill. If you don't have to be out, as my great colleague Jerry Lynn Mackey just mentioned, don't be at it. Make it easier to clean up the roads. Brutal anyway. Zero visibility. Unless you got a nice four-wheel drive where you can chug around and you have to get something or be somewhere or help someone, I wouldn't be at it. And as Jerry Lynn just mentioned, you know, like it feels like every Monday of late. So how fitting is it that this is Groundhog Day? And I don't know if you've seen the movie The Same Name starring Bill Murray or not, but it's certainly apropos today. So, you know, Bill Murray, he's the weatherman, goes to Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania to cover the big event with, to see if Phil will Phil, Punxsutawney Phil, of course, the groundhog, whether or not he'll see his shadow or not. We know the drill, right? If he sees his shadow, we're supposedly in for 6 more weeks of winter. If he doesn't, it's a sign of an early spring. Yeah, we can wish. So, you know, he's done the assignment over and over before, you know, becoming more and more cynical, mocking the whole thing, mailing in his weather report saying that this storm is going to pass by. But ironically, it doesn't. Forces him to stay there, and he wakes up every day to the exact same day, the exact same thing. Takes him a day or two to realize what's happening, and then he ends up reliving it over and over again, like many of us probably feel here today. And that's unbeknownst to everyone else. So he starts to take advantage of it, you know, the situation, until he realizes this could be forever. Then he grows a conscience, starts helping people, you know what's going to happen ahead of time. It gets pretty funny. It gets pretty serious. It can get pretty sad, but it's got a little bit of everything. So yes, the theme of kindness eventually takes over him, God forbid, and that leads to good things for him. Finds love, won't give away the ending if you haven't seen it, but it's just got a little bit of everything. Really makes you think how you might handle something like that. And as I said, good moral for all of us in that flick, which I make a point of watching every year on this date. And man, does it ever fit the mold today? It certainly feels like we're reliving this over and over, as I said, on Mondays especially. As Bill Murray says, will this winter ever end? So I'm not going to regurgitate the extended forecast. It's obviously the news of the day, and we are going to get a good solid update, I believe, from the Weather Office when they update their forecasting, probably just a little after 10:30, around that time. Other than that, we'll still have our updates in the news and that sort of thing. Other than to say it is a mess, it's winter, it's Newfoundland and Labrador, and this too shall pass, yada, yada, yada. And of course, I'd be remiss not to mention our competing groundhogs north of the border. Of course, Wyatt Willie, Shubenacadie Sam, and there are others which have emerged, so to speak, building on the popularity of that movie. That was back in 1993, Greg, if you can believe it. I will say good morning to our friends on the West Coast, particularly my friends of Marble Mountain, who are loving every bit of this winter so far. Got to believe that if you could count on this every year, the financial challenges out there would disappear in a hurry. But we can't rely on it, as we know. But they're making the best of it while they can. I know that. So here in Metro, everything is pretty much shut down. So what better day to get in the queue? And if you've never called the program, today could well be your day. Especially with schools closed, don't have a lot of younger callers on, but I know that there are a lot of younger, and when I say younger, teenage, whatever, high school, university, whatever, love to have, especially with everything going on at Memorial University these days, love a few calls from MUN, students and or faculty or anyone else who's affected by the changing landscape at MUN, literally and figuratively. Love to have some younger listeners, though. Give it a try. Get that younger perspective this morning, whether it's your school environment, high school environment, or maybe an event you'd like to promote. I know there's lots of great shows and fundraisers on the go, whether it's the Frozen Show over at the Arts of Culture coming up in March, or the Mamma Mia coming up at Holy Heart. If you're into the ABBA, of course, who isn't? Good bit of ABBA this morning. And, of course, our storm page is up and running, so you can pop on to VOCM to check out the very latest there. I know we had a lot of interest, a lot of calls coming into our newsroom about specific businesses and that sort of thing. Of course, we can only know if they let us know, so we do our best. If we don't have a specific business, of course, we do all our checks on the major on government entities and, as I said, the schools and all that sort of thing. But if you've local businesses and that thing, we may very well have it on our site, but you'd want to go over and have a look and flick down and see if what affects you is there anywhere. And it looks like this one's going to continue possibly into this evening, certainly around these parts, before petering out tomorrow morning. But in the meantime, if you're out in it, affected by it one way or another without no choice, you know what to do. Numbers to call, 709-273-5211, 1-888-590-VOCM. The VOCM, of course, standing for 8626. Greg, of course, will take your calls. Greg Smith, steady hand on the wheel today, behind the glass. So there's an umpteen amount of news and other issues out there that we can grab today for sure, go at and gab it. And before that, a bit of sports. Of course, the Olympics, the opening ceremonies this Friday. But the actual competition, of course, begins on Wednesday. And it's 4.5-hour time difference. They're ahead in Milano Cortina, Italy. So they're ahead of us by 4.5 hours. So it's just going on 1:30, just after 1:30 p.m., I believe, over there now. Difference between here and there. Curling and luge, downhill, I believe, starts on Wednesday. Women's hockey gets going on Thursday. And men's hockey on the 11th. And I mentioned last week, I was hosting on Friday there, I mentioned the Aussie Open. 5 a.m. start, of course, given that it's the other side of the world, down under. If you didn't watch it, or the repeat, because it came out at that time, the women's final was fantastic. A big upset. Irina Rybakina upsets the number one Irina Sabalenko. And if you didn't catch the men's final, it was almost a classic if it could have only went 5 sets. But it really, the score, if you didn't even see it, the score kind of tells the detail from an age perspective. You've got Carlos Alcaraz, 22 years old. You know, he's the next one, as long as, and I say next only because Djokovic, I don't know what to say about, I've never been a big fan of Novak Djokovic. There's just things over the years, not just the COVID mess when he supposedly was less than truthful about COVID when he was during COVID, and the Aussie Open was on and the controversy there. But, you know, Carlos Alcaraz, 22 years old. Novak Djokovic, 38, 16 years in the difference. So if you look at the set line, you know, Novak came out flying, but it looks very much from the score line that father time caught up with Novak there. Who knows? It's just the first Grand Slam of the year, but it was a dandy. And, of course, Rafa Nadal right there front and center to watch his young countrymen, with, I guess you could say, the passing of the torch. And let's see, of course, the Grammys last night. Don't know if anyone caught the Grammys, but I'm not big on award shows, but there's enough going on in the world now. I'm always curious to see who's going to weigh in, and they did. There was a bit of controversy last night. No, I shouldn't even say controversy. People are speaking out. Bad Bunny, who's going to perform at the Super Bowl next Sunday, was the first one to just come and just say, "Ice out," and that got him a standing ovation. Ice out of Minneapolis and everywhere else, I guess, as you know. And we can get into everything that's going on south of the border. I'm not going to list them here because it's, again, the fire hose. You blink and there's something else that's going on, whether it's the aircraft tariffs now or on Canadian-made aircraft or whatever. So much going on south of the border. I don't know where to go with that. But that's what this show is for. So you know what's on the go. We can't do it without you. So if you want to get on and comment on any of what you see transpiring north and south of the border, we're going to have the Badger mayor on too soon for local. We'll stick with local, of course, if you we'll get into anything else you want to talk about. But, of course, of most concern, chief concern, are people in our backyard, of course, and in Central and Badger, the annual rite of passage that is the flood watch, unfortunately. When you get three rivers coming to a head at once, it's just a recipe for disaster. I don't know whether you make a new tributary or what, but I know they've tried some proactive measures before, but this one just... the environment seems to take us over. And, of course, out west, big weekend out west in Alberta. Pierre Poilievre maintains leadership of the Federal Conservative Party. So many dynamics going on there. Of course, he got, I think it was 87%. No real surprise. Even the pundits and everyone else said that it would be surprising if he didn't get an overwhelming amount of support to stay on as leader because, to be honest with you, who else is there? But... the tale of the real tape will be now the coming days. and how he separates himself from the Carney juggernaut, because it's a fact that even the Red Tories still, it's a risk that any more floor crossing goes on, and the whole dynamic of the House of Commons changes again. Fascinating to see how the Premiers and PM Carney, though, are being so careful with their words, whether it's on the Alberta separatists and these alleged, I'll say alleged, I don't really know how serious the talks are. You hear from both sides of the border. The U.S. says, no, but we do this with a lot of people, a lot of different groups that come to us. And if you talk to others, they say there's actually a dollar amount been waived in the faces of the separatists if they can somehow extract Alberta from Canada and become part of the States, or just to separate. So the dynamics there are endless, and I don't know where you want to go with that. We can go everywhere with it if you want. And, of course, can't ignore what happens any day over the Middle East. And, of course, it's ramping up against Iran again. And the build-up and the focus in the Gulf of Hormuz and all those areas. And whether or not this is all just window dressing again and attempts to distract, and who knows. Really, you have to be in the room. Something else I noticed, too, over the weekend, and Greg, you can let me know whenever we want to, if we get the Mayor of Badger there on the line. That's a really important update, so perfect. Okay, just got a note in my ear. He's in a meeting, but we'll get to him. And I don't know if you're following this, if you're much of a trader, if you're on the stock market at all, but we can talk about how gold and silver really has gone through the roof, how important, how great, and how an amazing switch and spike in the price of gold. It's like $5,000 an ounce now. There's some people speculate that it could go as high as $8,000 before that bubble bursts, but it just seems to be such a solid ground for people with all the uncertainty on the markets. But gold seems to be a constant right now, and it's flying. It's one of those, it's money that, if you invest in gold, it's just considered such a safe investment right now. You put it in a coffee can or under the mattress and save it for a rainy day. But that's another conversation that's just been percolating over the weekend. And back on the local front, of course, Premier Wakeham's visit to Ottawa last week and all the discussions that went on there, and all of the issues that are on the provincial government's plate, especially with the provincial budget nearing every day, a little closer every day, and of course the elephant in the province, which is the MOU and what's going to happen with it. Of course, a lot of problems could be solved by signing that financially, but whether or not it's already been pitched and thrown out the window, and whether or not the decision's already been made, we just don't know. The Premier continues to say the end of April and that a referendum is still on. But we'll see. They're reviewing that MOU, and who knows? They could come out and say it's just dandy, although I don't know how the Tories save face after delaying it so long and causing all the issues, that if it is so great, if they actually came out and said it's actually okay after all. I don't know how that plays politically, but hopefully that's not the focus and the priority here. The priority, of course, is getting the best deal possible. And, of course, saw some visuals of the Baltic 3 over in Cedar Cove on the West Coast. I don't know how long that thing can hang on. I think there's discussion now. There's more talk about more debris washing up on the shoreline, and the Coast Guard saying that's not unusual, but may not be unusual. But doesn't it hint that any day now we could see that in more than just one piece? And I don't have an updated number on how much of all the effluent and the pollutable materials that have been recovered and taken off the vessel. Maybe we could get a good update, solid update on that as well this morning or sometime this week. And so let's see, Greg, I was going to mention yesterday, so funny. The calm before the storm is some of the best weather we get in this province. Yesterday I went out just to clear away some snow because I live downtown and I have no room. If we don't get rid of the snowbank that we got from the last one, there'll be no room to put it. So I spent yesterday afternoon just clearing it away in lovely weather. It wasn't a breath of wind. A lot easier to do it yesterday, but you're not downtown, are you?
No, I'm out in the East End, but there is a lot of people out in my neck of the woods yesterday doing the exact same thing and widening out the driveway, I guess, so to speak, to make sure that there's lots of room to throw stuff again whenever we get a chance to get out there.
Yeah, it's between houses in our neck. And, it hasn't been the heaviest, snowfall of the this year has not been the heaviest snowfall we've ever gotten, but it's been so steady. We haven't had a downtown street snow removal yet this year, so I was kind of hoping for one of those last week, but they're busy, and we'll see how we all get through. I'm hoping I can find the house sometime later this afternoon.
If we get home out of it, you mean?
Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Anyway, we're right up to the break. Let's take that break. Again, looking for your calls, people, on any topic that you want to get off your chest today. Just because I didn't mention it doesn't mean it's not fair game. Lots to talk about, and lots of time today. I'm assuming the majority of people probably got nothing better to do, so give us a shout. Even if it hasn't been your first time, maybe this is the day. Brian Callahan in with you on Open Line today. We'll be right back.
This is Open Line on the VOCM Big Land FM radio network.
Welcome back to the show on this Monday. Let's go right to line number 2. And Jeff, you're on the air.
Good morning. How are you?
Survival of the fittest, of the driest, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it's quite the morning out there. Anyway, I was just calling in to speak about the roads. I got up early this morning to take my wife to work, who's a nurse. And, of course, they don't shut down, so most staff had to try and get in. I left from Airport Heights and went down to up Elizabeth Avenue. All the roads were, main thoroughfares were great, actually. I couldn't believe, I didn't have to have it in four-wheel drive, but obviously I left my truck in four-wheel drive for precautionary reasons. Anyway, I ended up going for a little drive and ended up coming in the Outer Ring Road, which was the worst I've ever seen it. I kid you not, I'm actually blown away how bad the Outer Ring Road was. I was doing about 40. It was just like a goat path. Can't believe it that the Department of Highways is not making regular treks back and forth. I don't expect them now to have down to the pavement, but I would have thought at least every hour or maybe hour and a half that a plow would have went through, and I'm pretty sure nothing had gone through there within 3 to 4 hours.
What distance did you travel, like from which on-ramp to which off-ramp?
Well, I ended up getting on Capsule Road on the Outer Ring Road to come back home, and I just now finished shoveling the driveway to get back in the driveway, and I'm just blown away that, there's lots of people that still had to go to work today, even if it wasn't safe to be on the road. They still had to get out, you know what I mean?
Yeah. What time was that, Jeff?
Well, I'm just back in the driveways, and it took me about a half an hour to clear the driveway to back into it so that I could not get stuck getting in. And so it's 9:20 now, so I left the house 7:20, and I'll bet you it took me longer to come in the Outer Ring Road than it did all the rest of the driving I did.
Yeah, you mentioned a couple of times blown away, literally, hey? It's just so exposed up there, right? I mean, we know that. But you would say you didn't spot a thing up there the time you were on the ORR, were you?
No, there was a four-wheel drive behind me and a little Kia, or I can't remember what it's called, in front of me. And I like I said, it was like driving over a gravel road. You're up and you're down and you're bouncing around because there's nothing but the tracks that other vehicles have made.
Yeah, we do know that they'll take them off the roads sometimes when it's that bad. Like, whether or not it's a safety issue, even have them out there when other people are trying to get places. But for essential, workers like yourself, I think you said your wife's a nurse at, where is she a nurse?
Yeah.
Health Sciences?
That's St. Pat's Nursing Home.
Oh, St. Pat's. Yeah, I mean, look, you got to get there. So that has to be understood as well. But
and they have a full crew that has to get there this morning, too, and not everybody lives around the corner from wherever they're working, generally. Like yourself, you had to get up Kenmount Road, but I thought the city roads were great. But I was just, like I said, and one other quick hint, I've seen this 3 or 4 times this morning. I'm home now, by the way, I had to stay until I got to go out again. But a quick hint, if you're coming to an on-ramp or an off-ramp, don't slow down, because I saw at least 4 cars stuck, and it's once you hit that bank of snow, if you got no momentum, you're not getting through it. I know it's dangerous with your vehicle, and there's a lot of plastic up underneath the vehicles these days. Everything looks pretty, but it's not necessarily sturdy.
Yeah, but those ramps, as you said, right? I mean, you're going in them really blind. You don't, if you have no, if you have no depth perception, you can't really see what you're plowing into. And then ramps are a turn. So you're on a turn. Yep. It's a deep snow. You don't know where you're going. You could easily lose traction. So, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that was pretty much all. I just thought I'd give a quick call just to what I observed this morning, because I don't think there's a lot of people out now, by the way, as of right now, because shift change is pretty much over for healthcare workers, and most of them are, if you're in, you're in. If you're not, you're probably not. Your office is closed.
Yeah, and you made the point too. In city, you mentioned Kenmouth Road. I came up Kenmouth Road around 7 a.m. and it was perfect. I mean, and perfect in the sense that it's that kind of thing where it had a cut and the wind was just blowing back and forth. So there was really no accumulation on any of the lanes. The visibility was sucked, but I mean, traction was good. Up on the outer ring, or the outer bond, I like to call it, is that's another story altogether. And the exposure is so great. So, people will always say, "Look, we had trucks up there. You just probably didn't see them. You didn't see it when you were going through, or that sort of thing." And we all knew this was coming. So I'm looking forward.
Agree. I guess my only point is that I feel like that there wasn't no plows that went through there, and maybe I'm totally wrong, but. You went up Kenmouth Road 7, and I went up Kenmouth Road around 7:45, and I thought, boy, this is not too bad. I'm quite surprised. Then I thought my safest bet to get home was to go on down now and get on the outer ring and come on in that way. Like thinking that I would imagine, and I don't know much about this field of work, but I would have thought, well, the plow probably knows going from let's say the dump back out to, I don't know, maybe Foxtrap or the CBS highway and back and forth kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, I thought there was a route that they'd be kind of sticking with to keep the main thoroughfares open for an ambulance or something that ever had to come. If an ambulance had to come in over the outer ring or the outer ring road this morning, the poor person lying in the back would have got some good shaking up. I can tell you that.
Yeah, and I just had a caller here. Greg just passed me a note. We'd love people to come on the air, of course, but some people don't have time or whatever. But they are saying that the outer ring was done at 5:30 a.m. and 8 a.m. I saw it with my own eyes. So, I mean, I think there's something to be said for when you go through. I mean, it can change so quickly, and the way it's. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. 100%. I guess I was ahead of the plow.
Always the way, hey?
Listen, I broke the path for him.
It cracks me up that people pass the plows, to be totally honest.
I'm not that guy, but I'm saying I must have been ahead of the plow. I didn't see the plow. But listen, before I go, I just want to say one thing. Certainly going to miss Paddy, and whoever fills his shoes are definitely going to have big boots to fill, because he was. How many times did I often think to myself, I should call him, man, and just say something nice to Paddy, because he's just a man of patience and just a wonderful person. The way he handled some of the callers, that I was thinking, boy, if I had them on the line now, I'd be clicked. But he was just a wonderful host and a very knowledgeable person. That's all I wanted to say regarding Paddy. Going to miss him.
I'm sure he appreciates it, and he has said he's just been overwhelmed by the outpouring. But people say fill his shoes. Like, Paddy's shoes are his own shoes. There's no filling his. You want to come in your own and make your own mark. And I know we have lots of applicants, so we'll see what happens. It's all in the hands of management.
Well, you're doing pretty good at it too, so you just never know your luck in the big city.
I appreciate that, Jeff.
Day,
For everyone who says that, you got your detractors, and it's amazing what people. Oh, I just don't look at social media anymore, but it's crazy. This is a show you really have to do it once to understand the magnitude of it, and it's just.
I agree.
Yeah, and the show is just 3 hours. The rest, that's just. Maybe a quarter of what you actually hear and what you actually see, and the calls and the messages you get, and trying to cover it all off. So and Paddy just nailed it. There's no question about it. It's either I just don't know what's going to happen, but the refrain of not being able to fill the shoes. I like to think that someone's going to have to come in their own shoes. You're right. There's no filling them, and so bring your own big boots or your big steel toe rubbers, which I got on today.
and some earmuffs so to get rid of the negative, because there's always going to be some. The old saying, haters gonna hate.
Yeah, and these days it's not even so much on the air and by voice. It's, as Patty would say, the old anonymous keyboard warriors, who really have just a little bit too much time and hate in their hearts. So let's hope we can flip that switch on some of those people, hey?
Yeah. God bless and have a great day. I hope you get home safe.
Appreciate it, Jeff. Thanks so much for the call. Really appreciate it. Safe on the road when you go to pick her up.
Thanks.
Okay,
Bye.
take care. All right, Greg, look at that. Right on the break. Take that break and be right back with Russell wants to talk my not favorite topic, taxes and the CRA, right after the break.
This is Open Line on the VOCM Big Land FM radio network.
Welcome back to the program. Let's go to line number 1. Stay with the phones. And Russell, you're on the air.
Brian.
Yes, sir.
Are you Callahan, right?
Yes, sir. That is it.
Are you from Spanish Bay?
No, I'm not from Spanish Bay. I spent a good bit of time as a kid out there driving through, and nice summers down that way. North River. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just trying to think about all the Callahans here in Spanish Bay that are so beautiful.
Okay, I'm from Spanish Bay.
Okay.
If we're all so beautiful. I want to be part of the beautiful people.
I know all these people, man. Yeah. I love them. Brian, what I want to talk about is trying to reduce, like, people are going bankrupt. So how do we fix that, right? What we do is we take all the taxes on sin stuff and still taking those taxes from those like low wage people, we eliminate alcohol, and what you do, you're eliminating the evil in the world. That's everybody here in Bishop Cove is taking contraband. Eliminate the taxes on all sin taxes, everything, drugs, everything. Even like the acid, whatever, say, cocaine, everything. Eliminate the taxes and let the people live the way they want to live. But what we got to do is train them that you don't take nothing from pharmaceuticals off the shelf, on the shelf. And you don't take nothing that's the doctor prescribes you, because all those guys are just, even out opioids and make big money. We start and make our own system, natural products. Yeah, like Kevin Trudeau's books, Natural Cures. That's what we do. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I just wanted to let you talk, Russell. I have both detractors and people who tell me I interrupt too much, but that's just the journalist in me. Sometimes I just can't help it. I hear something that piques my interest, and I think people need to know more about it. I'll pop in with a question, but I really wanted to let you just...
Can I say something?
Yeah, sure, that's why. Yeah, go ahead.
We make the medical system, the first cure is natural products. There's nothing over the counter, because it's all putting you in the hospital and killing you. Right? You go to natural products, and they exist. I had gout. I linked it back to the blood pressure pills I was on. Right? And I started researching. This is honest to God. Something in the blood pressure pills that caused my gout. I got shoes there. Like, I got thrown away right now. What I did, I found out something about green tea that the Chinese use, right? And it is amazing. So I got my green tea. I got off my blood pressure pills, and I take a herb from Europe, which is called pine bark extract. Got off the baby pills I was taking, and I tell you, pharmaceuticals, the doctors, yeah, they're killing everybody.
Yeah, we've long had a. Yeah, Russell, I agree. I mean, we've had a long overdependence on pharmaceuticals, and pharmaceuticals taking advantage and flooding the market. And you know, pharmaceuticals aren't for everybody. All natural is not for everybody. Green tea, I was on green tea for a long time back when I was, about 20 years ago or something. That'll clean you out. That's and it's healthy. I mean, if you don't want to be blocking your tea with milk and sugar every day. I'm on black coffee now, but that's another story. But and one a day, I should.
Man. Get off that.
Oh, one a day is not. I think, you know, moderation. I think.
No, go back on green tea, man. I'm telling you. I get up in the morning. The only thing I do till say Paddy's gone or whatever, or you, right? And I tell you, you got to take over this project. You got to replace Paddy.
I like the way you laughed after that.
Yeah.
I'm
serious.
I laugh after that line too. Well, we'll see what happens. I've said, as you know, management is in full control here, and we got a full month because you never know who could come out of the woodwork.
I worries about like VOCM, and the crowd is on there promoting marijuana, and they're stoned all the time. I worries about it. It's not a good message for our world. Give up everything. Give up everything related to drugs and marijuana. Please, VOCM community, give it up. I give a word there, am I?
No, Russell, I guess, you know, it's not for everybody, but it's not for not everybody either. It's hard to tell people to just give something up, no matter what it is.
Man.
I mean, dependent.
They're stoned all the time. I got friends that are stoned all the time. You can't talk to them. I had, like, the very best friends in the world, and I can no longer talk to them. Because I never, ever done drugs. I'll let you go, buddy.
No, Russell, listen, I appreciate the call. I appreciate every part of it. I would just say that moderation is the key to everything. I think, you know, everybody, you know, I mean, you can't, there's nothing wrong with an Advil for a headache. Question is, if you're going down the road of more powerful stuff, then that's another question.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is, because it causes cancer.
All right, well, on that happy note, thanks for the call, Russell. And listen, you keep up with the green tea and the healthy lifestyle. And if you know, I mean, it's not for everybody. As I said, moderation is the key. And it's hard to tell people just to give something up, especially when you have so few pleasures in life these days. I had a friend who called me once, Russell. He said, "You wouldn't believe how much I saved not drinking red wine this month." And, you know, I mean, I have a glass of red wine just about every night, just at least one glass of red wine. It used to be talk all about the health benefits of red wine and all that sort of thing. And they're still out there, but you'll always have a study that comes along and says it's not as great as they say. Studies. It's your own metabolism, and it might work for you, it might not work for you. But my particular friend, the point is, and I'll just leave you with this, he just showed me how much money he was saving. But it was one of the few things he loved to do at the end of the day. So in the end, I'm like, you know, I mean, you got to balance that kind of thing with just, you know, the daily pleasures of living, and have a little guilty pleasure every now and then, which might just be red wine for some, or for some of your friends, it could be a quarter ounce in an hour. Who knows, right?
Yeah, but
that's too much.
That's the thing, right? I got like so many friends in engineering. That's like, you know, cocaine is Okay.
Yeah, that's
So
another
why
story
don't
altogether.
Why don't the government take the taxes off everything? And this is serious. To Mr. Wakeham, take the tax off everything, let it go. And the other way to change, just imagine the people, the amount of taxes that's on your pleasures.
The only problem with that, Russell, is that a government without tax income is a government that's in serious financial situation.
Tax income means that the people that's like on low income, that's on alcohol or whatever, goes back to the government. Instead of the taxes they're taking from them, they're making money for the government.
Well, it's a circular argument, and Russell, I'm going to have to let you go because we're right up to the break. I'll give you one more. Just give me one more comment before we let you go. We're right at the break.
I totally disagree with that. If you eliminate all sin taxes, the economy will boom.
Well,
That's my last comment.
If the Premier is listening, well, I'm sure they are. Government is listening. We'll see if they take your advice.
Mr. Polyev, just he's in the government. Everybody across the country, vote for Mr. Polyev. Put more money back in their pockets.
Okay, Russell, I'll mark you down as decided.
Last comment.
Thanks for the call.
Yeah.
Okay, you take care out in Spanish Bay. We still there? Okay, let's take that break. Come right back with MHA, Pam Parsons, in the queue right after the break.
This is Open Line on the VOCM Big Land FM radio network.
And welcome back to the show. Just before we get to our next caller, Pam's waiting there patiently. I just want to remind everyone, good morning to Madonna Lovelace and especially 8-month-old Hazel Crane. Of course, we've had this story in our news, and I just wanted to put back on everyone's radar. Our family, of course, their little girl, Hazel, is going through a really rough time medically, of course. They are in need and a match for a liver transplant, of course, and where she's so tiny, only 8 months old. They're at Toronto Sick Kids, of course, waiting for this transplant. They don't need a full liver like an adult might, but just a partial liver, a piece of the liver, just to get the proper blood type, which is O plus or O negative, and save that little girl. So we talk about the weather and some of the things we're all going through here in the province, and then other families are going through this. So anyone you think you might be a match, or if you're just looking for some more information on this, it's all over. It's on our website, of course, at vocm.com. Of course, it's a GoFundMe page. Of course, it's been set up there to help Hazel's parents while they're off work and that sort of thing, and up there, and needless to say, preoccupied with other things, other most important things. So I just wanted to remind everybody that is happening, and the story is there on our website. So if you want to have a look at the GoFundMe, if you can help out, or who knows, maybe you can be a match, or someone who might be in that place able to help. That would be absolutely fantastic, and I'd love to be able to report that here on Open Line. Let's go to line number 2, and MHA Pam Parsons, you're on the air.
Good morning, Brian, and I'm here looking at my window. I can barely see across the street. So the snow is certainly accumulating, but I hope we're not going to see what we saw years ago in that event that we know is Snowmageddon. So,
which street are we? Are you at Confed?
No, I'm here in my. I'm not getting up. I haven't gotten off my street. I'm here in Bay Roberts, of course, in my district, and I don't anticipate going very far today. And I'm going to take the advice, of course, of those who are out there encouraging everyone. Unless your travel is urgent or emergency, please stay off the roads and let the officials do their work to safely get as much snow clear as possible. But there's a lot of snow coming, and as you know, and as we know, and the forecast predicts, it looks like we're going to get this for quite some time, for a few hours yet to come.
Yep, absolutely. Couldn't agree with all of that more. We're not new to this, but hey, we know the drill. So, it's not our first rodeo. So what's on your mind this morning, Pam?
Well, I attended a recent Joint Council meeting. It's Conception Bay Joint Council meeting, and what that is, that's, of course, community leaders from every municipality in Conception Bay North. They gather once a month course, to talk about the priorities that affect the region and, of course, all the councils. And I have to say, the last meeting I attended was held in Upper Island Cove just last week, and the number one priority, or certainly one of the top priorities, was crime and the concern for rising crime rates here in Trinity, Conception, Placentia region alone. And Brian, last year as minister, facing some topics in particular to gender-based violence and a rise in crime, the incidents that we recently saw in Harbour Grace. I had a meeting with the RCMP in White Hills, and it was a team of people. I also met with the committee that former Minister Bernard Davis put together of both RNC, RCMP, and different law authority to come together. And the statistics show that outside of Metro and Happy Valley Goose Bay, this is an area of concern where crime is taking a severe increase. And again, all those community leaders just last week, it's a top priority. I know that they have sent a letter off now to the current Minister for Justice and Public Safety. And Brian, as you know, I'm the Shadow Minister for Justice and Public Safety. And there's certainly concern, in particular to the North Shore, when we saw those rash of wildfires. We know there's a lot of devastation. About 200 homes have been destroyed. But as we keep seeing in the news, the crime are still happening. The break-ins to these properties are still happening. We can't forget, of course, the woman who was on talking about how someone had broken into a home and stole sentimental items, of course, that belong to a loved one. And I mean, we need to do more. And as we know, in the recent campaign trail, the PC platform promises for 25 more RCMP officers on the ground, as well as 21 RNC officers. So I've also put forth the idea of an all-party committee. All-party committees are very effective. You know, we have the strengths on all sides of the House of Assembly and all parties, and it's something that I'm asking the minister to consider. You know, let's strike an all-party committee. We know how effective it was, the all-party committee for mental health that our government introduced just some years ago, and how effective that was. And again, when you have everybody working together, that's when you get the best results. And so I'd like to, put that up to the minister to call for consideration on an all-party committee. But we know we need to do something. We know we need to have a different approach, to the crime rates that we're seeing, and not just in this region. But I hear my colleagues talk about this concern in their districts across the entire province. And Brian, you yourself know. I mean, you're a court reporter. You're down there. You see what's happening in the system.
Oh, do I ever? Pam, I don't know. A couple of people said to me over the week, and I know what you're saying about the all-parties committees. They can do good work, and they have in the past. It's just that they're out of sight, out of mind, and people are so skeptical of if they don't see actual work being done on the ground. If it's just talk, then they just think it's just more talk, and you don't see concrete actions come of it. I'm not saying it always happens, but it does sometimes happen that these things, just like an old report, can get shelved and gather dust for years. We got plenty of examples of that as well. So, listen, I'm with you. I had a great year-end interview with the superintendent for the RCMP for Newfoundland and Labrador. And, he couldn't have said the word commitment or, hard work and more officers enough time in that interview to say that they're all over it. But, sometimes, you can make all the laws and be as hard, have the hardest legislation, the hardest crime legislation in the world. But boys are still going to pull up on an ATV, jump off, kick the door in, steal whatever they want, and go on their way. And, an investigation occurs. I mean, when you see a video of like that, and then you can understand the frustration if nothing happens for a little while. But there is a process. And, anything that can speed it up or bring more people to justice, especially in the CPN area, I think we're all over it. What would the form of this take? Have you received any feedback from government on your idea for another?
No, not yet at this point. But again, I mean, there was a concrete promise made, 20, and actually numbers put out there by now Premier Tony Wakeham, 25 more RCMP officers, 21. But now we know that there's backtracking and saying, well, we got to focus on the vacancies that need to be filled. But remember, there was a commitment to add 46 more officers to our system. So, if you're going to say it, let's see some action to get out there. But that said, though, also, Brian, I want to thank the RCMP as well as the RNC for the work that they are doing, because as we know, their work is exhaustive and they need more resources. So there's also an action to call on all levels of government, including our federal partners. So again, and this is something that an all-party committee can review, like propose ideas for new legislation, because as we know, with the changing in our patterns with crime, obviously we have to change the legislation to reflect the needs now of our society. Everybody deserves to go to bed, with peace of mind, knowing that they're safe. And again, I'm certainly willing to work with them. I know my colleagues are. Again, let's get back in that House of Assembly. We missed the fall session. Unfortunately, that fall session was canceled. I know that there's a call for all MHAs on all sides of the House to get in there. There are many, many important topics. And one of my other shadow minister responsibilities is fire and emergency services, disaster management and emergencies preparedness. And there was also some hefty promises made about firefighters. We know in the blink of an eye, we're looking out the window today. We're in the middle of a snowstorm, probably one of the worst that we're going to see this season. But we do know that wildfire season is just around the corner, and I don't need to remind everybody what we went through this past summer. In particular, again, out in the Conception Bay North region, there's devastation. Those people, there's still people who are displaced. We need to know what's happening with their housing. Are they going to build some permanent housing out there? We do know there's a housing crunch. There's a school that was devastated. Are they going to replace and rebuild a new school for the children and for the teachers of that region? But I want to make sure that we are ready. There was also a promise made for the coverall, wildland coveralls for every volunteer firefighter, and there are about 6,000 here across Newfoundland and Labrador. That was a promise made by this administration on the campaign trail. So let's see that. We need to have these firefighters equipped. There was a promise for more training. There was a promise to hire 50 more wildland firefighters even. So there's lots of work to be done. We haven't had any concrete updates on exactly what is happening. It's great to know that the assurance that the commitment is there, but we need to see. We can't wait until June or till May and to start, responding to what's going to happen. Let's see this action now. And again, I can't offer it enough. We're all here. We're all elected here by the people of the province to get this work done. Let's get back in that House of Assembly. There are so many priorities to discuss. And again, firefighting is huge. And those firefighters need to be equipped. And thank God for them, because what they've done this past summer, without them, it could have been much worse. Yep. So lots of work to be done, lots of questions to be answered.
Well, certainly the Minister of Justice and Public Safety, Helen Conway-Ottenheimer, is welcome on this show. I'm not sure if she's been on of late, but certainly was a common voice and a common comment, if you will, from when she was certainly the former justice critic in your position now. So, we'd love to be able to hear, some pontification, if you will, or comment from her as well on all of these topics. I mean, we haven't, certainly not enough on this show. And, you talk about CBN, the crime. You could be an RNC officer or a civilian employee coming right out of the headquarters, as we saw last week, and be exposed to this.
Yes, absolutely. You're right, 100%. And again, I can't say it enough. As we know, crime and the natural disasters and wildfires, obviously they're not political. Let's all work together. Let's get the work done. Let's get back in that House of Assembly and really calling for some serious consideration on an all-party committee, because I know there's lots who want to contribute, to making this place safer. And hey, that was their slogan: safer for all of us, for all of our community. So let's get down to doing that. So again, Brian, stay safe out there, and hopefully our roads are safe and will be snow cleared. I guess as soon as possible. But again, if you don't have to travel today, it's a good idea to stay put. Absolutely.
This too shall pass. Thanks, Pam.
You take good care.
Thank you. You too. MHA Pam Parsons. MHA Pam Parsons right there. A little late for the news. Sorry about that. Off to the news.
This is Open Line on the VOCM Big Land FM radio network.
Welcome back to the show. Brian Callahan in today. Let's go right to line number one and say good morning to Ward 3 Councillor and the city's lead for Public Works, Councillor Greg Noserly. You're on the air.
Good morning, Brian. How are you today?
It's survival of the driest, I guess. I don't know. Survival of the not snowed in. I don't know. How are you?
Well, I'm trying to keep warm, but, it's a bit of a windy and snowy day, and we're doing our best to keep warm, of course. course, it's a bit of a blustery one, we'll say, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Greg, just
Brian,
mentioned.
I just wanted to quickly. Go ahead, sorry.
No, sorry. Yeah, as lead of Public Works, fire away.
Yes, no, I just wanted to quickly jump on and let folks know, give a little bit of an update. So we've had plows out now since snow, of course, began, and it seems like we're kind of at that halfway mark based on weather updates and forecasts we're seeing. About 25 centimeters or so was down throughout the city. Some areas are seeing a little more, some are seeing a little less. Of course, it's quite blustery, and I'm looking out here now on my street as well, and roads are, they're good in some areas, but they're also quite snow covered in other areas, and there's some pretty significant whiteout conditions. So just want to remind folks again, really try to stay off the roads. We don't need more people on the roads as crews are working hard to keep everything clear, keep our major arteries open so that if emergency vehicles need to get through, we got a route there to get as close to you as possible.
Absolutely. Greg, a couple of questions just pop into my mind. One is, how soon after a dumping like this do you start looking at getting sidewalk plows out?
Well, so it's kind of one of these things where every storm is a little bit different. We do have a standard for when snow falls up to 25 centimeters. It's within 12 hours. We have a first cut on all the roads, and the sidewalk plows are also hitting the network for our sidewalk clearing areas. Then when we get a higher total, it really can disrupt that, especially if we're going to get a bit of rain like we're expecting today. That additional weight really does, just like you're clearing your driveway, it slows our machines down. So things can shift. It's a bit of a fluid situation, but at the end of the day, we're making sure that everybody's out. We're getting everybody back on the roads, back on the sidewalks, and to work, school, and places of interest.
Yeah, and I noticed, we just had in the news, maybe relevant or not, I don't know, but, there was some shake-up in the Public Works Division in the last couple of weeks, some changing around of positions and that sort of thing, I think restructuring within the department. What can you just take us through that and what, if any, effect it's having? We lost Greg? Oh, we lost him off the line. Darn. Let's get Greg, try to get him back on. I was just going to mention this. So there was some shake-up in the Public Works here in the city a couple of weeks ago. Over the last couple of weeks, the supervisor, I think, of waste diversion, which of course is garbage, that supervisor of waste diversion has been removed, while the director of environmental services has been moved to roads, parks and fleet. And Greg is back, I think, back on the line. You back there? Greg, back on the line? Back with us?
I'm back now.
There you go. Yeah, no, I was just referring to the restructuring in Public Works. What's going on there?
Yeah, so, every now and then we look at where our operations are. We want to make sure that we're being as efficient as we can be and putting our resources where best needed and allocate our limited resources to, get the best bang for your buck for taxpayers. So that's more or less what's going on there. We're just reallocating things to make sure that we're fully stocked up, everything's running as smooth as possible, and we're delivering for taxpayers. Does it save the city any money, or is there more salary, less salary, or that sort of thing? So for this particular one, it was kind of more of a rejigging, so there's no change in positions or personnel that way for staffing levels. And, I'd be kind of remiss about a couple of things, on council. I'm sure there's lots of discussion behind the scenes, or maybe even at the public meetings. A couple of things. First of all, the Dominion supermarket. I mean, it's I've seen everything from dance studios to burger joints and taco places. Are you got any ideas what might go back there? Well, it's still early days, and obviously, it's still open as we speak here today. And, we're seeing a lot of different development throughout the city. If you look at the West End of St. John's, for example, we just had No Frills open, which is great, gives more options for folks to get their groceries and helps create a bit more healthy competition, which is ultimately good for the consumer. At the end of the day, we're here to work with all the parties involved and come to the best possible solution, but we are monitoring the situation as closely as we can, of course. And where are we with the city landmark sign? Is there any talk about that? Has it just completely been just put aside until we get through? Because, at some point it's going to become close again. How are we going to go about choosing that? I think with a new council, and of course we've only had folks really elected since just the fall. It's only been a few months. Everybody's still kind of the new councillors are still getting themselves situated and oriented on a number of different issues. So we've got to figure out how we want to proceed over the next 4 years or so. So those are things that we're going to always turn our eye to. How do we brand ourselves and help tourism support industries throughout the city, whether it's, the film, again, the tourism, the downtown core, oil and gas, whatever industry it is. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that St. John's is an attractive destination for businesses. People are supported. They have jobs. At the end of the day, if they have jobs, they have food on the table. They're going to the local hockey game. They're doing all these things that we want to see in a good community, and we're always supportive of making sure that we're open to the business community. And if that's branding, marketing, advertisements, those types of things, we're always looking at how we can make St. John's the best it can be.
Do you have your own personal preference as to where you'd like to see the landmark sign go? I mean, deep down, everybody does, but are you going to reveal it?
It's one of those things. I think, truthfully, it's not as easy as one decision over the other. I think a lot of times we think about the city of St. John's, the city's responsible for everything, but I'll just give a couple of examples. Signal Hill is federal land, for example. The port itself as well is under federal jurisdiction. And then you've got your provincial buildings, and you've got your municipal, and then your private land. So it's really not all these decisions. Whenever we're making any kind of a decision, you got to be cognizant and mindful of all the players. So we want to make sure that we're working on any kind of challenges that can come up. For me, it's just about making sure that whatever decision we take, it makes sense. It does right by the taxpayers, and it will be a plus for the city, not a negative. So, I have to see, of course, again, whether there's new recommendations, if there's old ones with, modifications, those types of things. It's not as black as white as I'd like it to be, of course, but that's what we're here for, to have those tough conversations, to make sure we're keeping folks accountable.
Yeah, because arguably it didn't play out that way last year. Kind of blindsided a lot of people that it was just made, and a lot of people, were disappointed that they didn't have a say in it. So I guess it's a rejig of the process. But I'm just curious as to if there's any timeline to get at it and to ask for submissions again.
No timeline as such right now, but look, my door is always open. I make a point to be as open and transparent with communications, with what's going on at the city, to have that open door policy. So, if you call me, I'm the one that's picking up the phone. We're having a conversation, whether it's 8 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock at night. Send me an email. I'm the one that's replying to you. So I always encourage folks, if you've got a question, if you want to have a conversation, even if it's just picking up the phone and seeing what's going on, I'm there for you. I always will be. I'll make a point to do that. I always tell people, if I don't pick up the phone, leave a message, because I will call you back. I call everybody back. So it's just about, again, look, we're in a community. We want everybody to have their shake, their opinions heard and feedback gathered, and that's number one for me at the end of the day. It's
really hard to pick up the phone, to answer a phone call these days. It's all, the way I look at it, if it's important enough, they'll leave a message. If not, they'll text something. But if I don't hear anything, I just assume it wasn't important enough, because it's so hard. You're in all kinds of various scenarios throughout a day in business, especially as a counselor yourself, or even as journalists. Mm-hmm. And it's so hard to pick up the phone. So it's never an insult. It's just text seems to be the way to go these days. I'm going to throw one more at you, not a big one, not a hard one, but a softball at you just before I let you go. You're a West End guy like me, grew up in the Count Heights area, although I grew up right at the bottom down by the Waterford. And I'm curious as to know if there's any been discussions and talk about what's going to become of that, or what you'd like to see it become, because an extension of Bowring Park jumps into my mind, and has always. And it's such prime land and such a beautiful part of the city. It wasn't 160, 70 years ago when they put it out there to get it out of sight and mind, the actual hospital. But, it's just sitting there. Everybody knows the hospital is now closed itself, What do you think?
And it's actually a really timely question. I actually asked a couple of folks last week if we're hearing anything, and we haven't yet. Obviously, we've got a new provincial government. They're going to be reassessing what they're looking at, whether it was at the previously planned hospital or if it's the Waterford itself now. And I understand it still has some basic services there. So, whether that has a role to play in the future in healthcare in some kind of a revitalized way, if it's something that gets gets turned into additional park space, or otherwise. We want to know. We want to be a part of it. I'm keenly interested and aware, of course, as always, having grown up in the area, as you mentioned. And Boring Park is one of those jewels of the city. So many people are nearby. So we definitely want to have that information. Hopefully we'll hear some more from the provincial government soon. But of course, I know they're still getting some things in order on long-term plans as well.
Yeah, and I know there's some changes the way, people can submit, applications and that sort of thing, or pursue different applications and question the city about it, or have their submissions made. Something, it would strike me that something as large as that big, that swath of land, or even down at Dominion thing, it'd be great, if the city sort of give you a heads up before it just appears on the agenda for a week, because then it's a bit of a scramble. But something like that, I would think, the city could probably get out ahead of and let people know that it's coming for such an important, piece of landscape and real estate in the city.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this is one of those ones where it's not our land. Ultimately, it's up to the province what they want to do with it, them being the owners and operators of the Waterford Hospital and property area. And it's actually quite a large area, too. It's not just the footprint of the buildings itself. It's quite expensive. But I'll always say I'm always willing to work with my counterparts, whether it's locally. We've got, MHA, Corab, and White are in the area there, always chatting with them on different things, making sure messages are received. If it's speaking to the Minister for Health, whatever. And I'll always tell folks, again, just kind of going back to what we said a minute ago, reach out to me. I'm happy to relay those concerns, those suggestions, and I feel it's important for me as the councillor for the area to be able to be that voice for residents of St. John's. So I want to hear from you. If you've got ideas, let's have a conversation about it, because it is, ultimately going to be a big area of concern and consideration, whatever the future of it is. It's almost 200 years operating there, and when that change happens, we want to be part of it and involved, make sure the community is involved too.
Yep, it is provincial, but of course the application would have to come before city at some point. So, yeah, well, we'll keep our eyes peeled for that, because that'll be a monumentous one. Greg Noser, the Ward 3 councillor and the lead, of course, on Public Works. Thanks very much. Stay warm and safe and dry, and keep us posted on anything we should know on the city's end.
Absolutely, Brian. Listen, it's always a pleasure. Folks, stay safe out there. And, of course, when the storm ends, get out on the trails. We're going to have some nice powder for snowshoeing and skiing. Thanks, Brian. Thanks,
Greg. Greg Noser, the city councillor for Ward 3. He mentioned powder. It was powdery last week, but it's going to be, by all indications, pretty heavy, thick, wet, cement-like stuff. I'm usually get out ahead of it and do the best I can, like in the middle of the night even. But I haven't been able to touch mine today because I haven't been back there an hour. So God help me when I finally get free of the office. Greg, let's take that break. Sorry, we're a little over. We'll be right back.
This is Open Line on the VOCM Big Land FM radio network.
Welcome back to Open Line. Brian Callahan in today, and up to line number 8. And David Neal, our warning preparedness meteorologist, joins us on line 8. Good morning, David. How are you?
Good morning. How are you doing this morning?
Well, it's a loaded question today, isn't it, really? It depends on where you are and and what stage you're at. Where are we with this current blast of Old Man Winter?
Well, we're seeing right now snow falling really across much of the eastern half of the island. Starting to see certainly some good snowfall accumulations coming down now. Winds have picked up or are gradually picking up the north and northeast. So seeing some fairly nasty conditions, especially across really the eastern half of the island right now.
So I don't mean to just keep it in the metro area, but for now, if people are wondering, okay, when is it? When is the height of it? When is it petering out? When should I start shoveling and all that kind of thing? I guess there's no time like the present for that if you want to get ahead of it. But where would you put it, sort of in the time span of what part of the storm we're at?
Well, certainly metro area, northern Avalon. It's you're going to be into it for a while yet. This one's going to kind of linger around. Going to be snowing pretty much into tonight, fairly continuously. The intensity may be up and down, really throughout today and into tonight. But it looks like it's going to be snowing pretty steadily over that area, really until likely into the very early morning hours tomorrow.
And so will it stay the kind of heavy stuff that it is, or will there be any relief from that?
No, it's most likely going to stick around as kind of that heavier snow, heavier weight snow. Right now, temperature hovering kind of around -1, kind of give or take around much of the northern Avalon right now. Some areas maybe even a touch above the freezing mark. So the snow is likely going to stay that way. The temperature is pretty much going to stay in that sort of ballpark really until we start to see the storm pull away gradually through tonight and into tomorrow, where we start to see temperatures come down. But yeah, while the snow is falling, it's going to be temperatures going to stay around the same, and the snow is likely to stay quite heavy for the most part.
Lovely. Do you have any updated totals, accumulations, like for different parts of the province to this point?
Right now, looking northern Avalon, seeing a couple of snowfall reports, kind of around that 25 centimeter mark, kind of give or take, depending on where you are. Other areas in eastern Newfoundland right now don't have a whole lot of reports right now through eastern, even into central, but seeing a few centimeters down here or there through other parts into central Newfoundland. Looking at some of the highway cameras, a lot of areas in eastern Newfoundland are picking up some of those higher amounts now, as we're getting through, seeing some pretty nasty conditions over the Bonavista Peninsula, Clarenville area, even down towards Harbour Breton. So, but right now, in terms of reports, right now the northern Avalon, St. John's area, seeing around the 25 centimeter mark. Like I say, kind of depending on where you are, it could be a couple centimeters more, a couple less. So. Still going to keep going through this afternoon and into tonight. So going to still see some good healthy amounts by the time this is done.
And that's still on track. When you say healthy amounts, we're still looking at 50 plus possibly for a metro area and most of the East Coast really, I guess.
Yeah, looking at the potential, the areas where we're under that orange winter storm warning, still expecting amounts. Again, it could be quite variable. Parts of the southern Avalon and Burin Peninsula could see a little bit lower than those higher ends, just because we'll see a bit of mixing. Some areas will see a little bit of rain, a little bit of ice pellets. So that's going to kind of knock those amounts down a bit. But yeah, certainly northern Avalon and up towards kind of Clarenville, Bonavista areas. I should say in the Clarenville area, likely to see amounts in that 30 to 50 centimeter range. Some areas could see a bit more than 50, but right now the upper end of 50 looks pretty reasonable for some of these areas. And then anywhere under the yellow winter storm, somewhat less, but you could see some amounts getting upwards towards 30. For these areas, so still seems to be on track for a lot of those areas to get those in those ranges. One way or another.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I don't mind shoveling. I mean, if you don't have time to get to a gym and you want a bit of exercise, it's a great winter for that. To be consistent with your workout regimen, as they say for New Year's resolutionists. But I don't mind doing it when it's not too windy. So I just want to ask you if you have an idea of when the winds might subside a bit, and what direction are they going to stay? Nor'easters, or is it going to peter off a bit for the snow, or will that happen at the same time? Or, like I said, if it's snowing, I don't mind shoveling, but it's the wind right in your face and it blows it back at you, or blows it back into where you just shoveled, and all that kind of thing. So I think a lot of people are just pissed with the wind more than anything. Any signs that might die down to give it a little bit, more of a somewhat satisfactory conditions to shovel in?
Unfortunately, be the bearer of bad news here, but basically, as the heavier snow is coming down, the winds are likely going to stay quite strong, really throughout kind of the peak of the storm, especially with those higher snowfall amounts that are coming. So right now, so far, we've seen mainly across the East Coast gusts generally, the peak gusts generally in kind of that 70 to 80 kilometer-hour range. We have seen a couple of spots on the southern Avalon that have gotten to the 100 mark and a little bit higher so far this morning. So we are expecting those winds to stay quite strong and actually maybe even pick up a little bit as we get into kind of later afternoon, early evening. Over some areas, still expecting gusts along parts of the coast to get upwards to about 100 kilometers an hour as we get through the day today. Winds will mostly be out of the east. They will kind of switch to a little bit more of a straight northerly as we get more into tonight. But generally, looking at that north to northeast wind direction. So unfortunately, as the snow's coming down, you're also going to have the stronger wind. So it is going to make for a bit of a job to clear it out. You can only really clear it from one direction. Otherwise, as you said, it's kind of coming back at you, not really being effective.
Yeah, and of course, when you say that getting cleared out, there's all kinds of suggestion that, we're in for a lot of this over the next couple of weeks even. Like some of the longer range forecasts I've seen, give us another couple of these over the next week or so, even just the next week or so. Any comment just generally on what we're dealing with here this winter compared to last?
We've certainly seen more of a classic winter this year compared to last. Really, we've spoken about it within the office as well. Like really the last few winters that we've seen here in Gander, especially, we haven't seen. You do get your snow, but you get these mild spells, and you tend to lose a lot of it. And we've seen that this winter, but usually this winter we've seen the mild spell, and then we've gotten it back. Like we've gotten all that snow back pretty much. Looking at this in terms of normal, looking back at both December and January, quite a few of our sites across the island and even in the Labrador have been ahead of the normal both months, both December and now January just passed. We've been above the normal and kind of looking ahead a bit. Yeah, there's still a bit of storm activity coming up. There's another storm possible there for Thursday, although that one there's quite a bit of differences in our forecast models showing how much of a snow event that will be. It looks like it'll certainly be less than the one we're getting today and into tonight, but it could give another bit of accumulation to parts of eastern Newfoundland. So we will get a little bit of a reprieve after this one for a couple of days, and we're going to get that one on Thursday. And then there's a bit of storm activity around us, but whether or not those are going to actually kind of hit us or impact us, the jury's still out on that right now.
Yeah, and certainly not to suggest that we're alone in this. All you have to do is look south of the border, or even anywhere west, really. I mean, what the U.S. has been dealing with as well, right? Right through the center of that. I'm just wondering, like, when you watch those models, do you see connections, or like, is this a similar change in the past few years that they're seeing? I mean, you hear, I'm not going to ask you to weigh in on President Trump, but I heard him make that silly comment where, so much for global warming. That has no sense whatsoever compared to the long range of the trends that we see. But they're not immune either. It just seems to be a whole continental kind of thing this year.
Yeah, exactly, and we've seen that over the past few years. It's kind of the difference between weather and climate. Generally we have seen a warming in our overall, average temperatures and things like that. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have, all your winters are suddenly going to be mild and all this sort of stuff. You are going to still see those swings, and certainly where you're going to see those periods of time where you're going to get that Arctic air that gets a little bit further to the south, and in the last we've seen with the previous storm that cold, after that passed through that colder air that really got well south into the United States, as you mentioned. So I mean, those types of things are still going to occur. You're still going to have cold temperatures in winter at times. You're going to be colder than normal temperatures at times. So it really can be quite up and down like that. So it's certainly something to it's winter. You're going to get your share of storms. You're going to get your share of cold weather, warmer weather. So that's kind of how it's been, and looking ahead, likely going to continue.
So know what you know, and if you had a shovel in hand, when should you advise people would be the best time of day to go out? This is the $1 million question.
Yes. Well, as mentioned, kind of the heavier snow, the stronger winds they're going to kind of coincide and stick around. Looking kind of more at Avalon metro area, if you could push it to tomorrow morning, that'd be probably ideal. I realize that's maybe not going to be that's not likely going to be feasible for people who do still have to be out and have to work and then eventually go home. Obviously, you're going to have your plow rolls and stuff to deal with in order to get into your driveway. So, I mean, at that point, you pretty much got to anyway. So, but in terms of ideal time, certainly for the northern Avalon, north, and kind of some of those northeastern areas, really, if you can do it early tomorrow morning, might be the better time to start tackling it. Areas further west, you might be able to get out some point this evening. The winds are still going to be relatively strong as we get through the evening hours, but the intensity of snow should lighten up and you might be able to get a cut at it in somewhat ideal conditions. But even then, you're still going to have some stronger winds lingering around. So really, I guess if you have to do it, you got to do it whenever if you have to, you have to. But ideally, tomorrow morning, first thing, get up and power up the snowblower, and that could be probably the best time to get at it.
Or power up the arms, absolutely. David Neal, warning, preparedness meteorologist. Listen, man, we always really appreciate the time. I don't know if when you sign up for this job, you have communications as part of your title, but you do a great job of it. Really appreciate all the information.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, take care. It's David Neal, warning, preparedness meteorologist. That's the title. WPM, I guess, would be the acronym. Not a big fan of acronyms. Let's take the break. Greg, sorry, a little bit over, but essential programming. We'll be right back.
This is Open Line on the VOCM Big Land FM radio network.
Welcome back to the program. Greg, you got an outage there, not a big one, but I think.
Yeah, we got a small outage being reported out in the Long Pond area. It's on plan, of course. Happened just after 9 o'clock. Still no estimated restoration time coming in there, and it's under investigation. A couple of folks called in wondering about that. So Newfoundland Power Crew is obviously looking into that as best they can in these conditions. About 130 customers are being affected there. But that's out in Long Ponds from around Flats Road to Beards Lane. So heads up on that. We'll keep an eye on it.
Well, all things considered, fingers crossed. And yes, Barbara, I'd love to come over and shovel for you. I'm kind of busy at the moment, but I see your offer. And, of course, if I get some time here, maybe I'll take a quick break and the boys can run me over there in the VOCM SUV. And, I'll take care of that right away for you. Let's go right to line number 1 and say good morning, Bob. How are you?
Good morning to you, sir.
Bob Tucker, how are things? Long time no chat.
Yeah, old Bob Tucker. I want to say with you, Happy New Year, late Merry Christmas. I've been sick today, but I want to thank all the snowplow operators, all the people involved in snow clearing, because they have a hard job to try to do, and a very short time to try to do it. And you can't please everybody, you know that. So because some people want to do everything at one time, and that's not so. But anyhow, I like to tell people, if you're shoveling, shovel very slow if you can. If you can't, ask your neighbor to help you. Try to get somebody to help you, because it's a dangerous situation when you're shoveling. Your back and your heart is at risk. So you take care of yourself. There's 3 things in life that is important, and it's your health, family, and friends, and the rest of it is garbage.
But you got that right. You don't know how good it is until something goes wrong as well sometimes, Bob. We take it for granted, hey? And I mean, good point. That was something that we, haven't mentioned this morning, but absolutely the health and the risks of the shoveling, given that it's going to be pretty heavy and a lot of it. Me personally, I just I make sure I've got all the time in the world to do it. It's fine. Sometimes we're in a rush, but if I can take an afternoon and, like you said, take your time, you can get some good exercise out of it. That is, if you're up for it. But, and if not, like you said, reach out.
Right on. That's why God put us on earth, to help each other, not to torment and to rob from each other. God put us on earth to help each other. I'm a Protestant. That's not my fault, but I believe.
Whose fault is it?
Whose fault is it? Well, some of my best friends are people. Right?
Whose fault is it that you're a Protestant?
I won't answer my...
Fair enough. It was a personal question, but you certainly reserve the right.
Yeah, but anyhow, I worked with the city council for years at snow clearing and whatnot. And I want to throw the thanks in a bouquet to a lot of good people in the city council, City Hall, and I worked on Black Marsh Road. Dickie Dunn, Triff Cranford, Bill Squires, and Chris Ashley. Many, many more. I never found one thing wrong with anybody that worked with the council. They work there. They do what they're told to do, and that's what life is all about. See. Because that's why I got a woman, so I can tell her what to do. But she tells me where to go.
Cool. I'm glad you added that second part.
Yeah, I won't say what she says, but
I appreciate that as well.
she's right. And you're only a young chap. You got a long ways ahead of you. And love many, court few. And always paddle your own canoe.
I love it. I'm glad. I tell you, I needed your call today, Bob. If you don't mind me asking, which mayors did you work under now while you were at the Black Marsh Depot?
Oh, Dorothy White was the best.
There you
Not
go.
because, right, but Dorothy White was the top-notch mayor. There'll never be another one like her, right?
Hello, taxpayers.
We got to pay taxes, but some people says, oh, they're in it for the money. There's a lot of them in it for to help people. Dorothy White was one of them. Prayer and few in between, but she was one, and that's it, right? Don't ask me about Joey Smallwood.
I don't think he was mayor at the time, but I will say Dorothy Wyatt was a very close friend of my grandmother's, and they spent a lot of time in the old Elizabeth Towers over there together. So, Dorothy was one of a kind. I didn't know that was the mayor you were going to mention, but God love her, that's a great one to summon at this point. Bob, anything else you want to add this morning? Listen, you got first-hand experience as a former plow operator, so you know what they're up against.
Down by the Confederation Building, the light there by the Confederation Building, in 1989, the snow was up to the height of that traffic light. We sat up on the pole. The snow was that high there, drifted.
You're talking about the arts and culture?
The Confederation Building.
Yeah, so the light, but you're talking about the intersection, right? So would that be the one down by the arts and culture at the Allendale there?
No, right up to the top of the hill.
Oh, at the parking lot there.
Yeah, because the snow was right up to the light. We sat down on the pole with the light was on, the traffic light, in 1989.
Is there a picture of that around?
They took pictures of me and a couple of others there sitting on the pole, but I think that my picture went in the comics.
Yeah, always got that line. Yeah, no, I know what one you mean now. That's the one just before you, if you're going east, before you come up to the next intersection down by the Holiday Inn, right? So just before College of North Atlantic and that sort of area. I guess, where it's right on the crest of that hill, too. It's probably one of the most exposed areas of the city where you're going to get a good accumulation of snow. That's a grand memory.
We plowed Black Marsh Road up there with an old dozer with no canopy, just a piece of tarpaulin wrapped around your legs. An old dozer.
And I imagine you were compensated grandly for that, having to work with so you didn't have the little cab to protect yourself from the elements.
No cab, no heat was from it. Would return the fan around on the engine, and the heat from the engine will blow back underneath the tarpaulin underneath your legs, keep your air warm. You were sat in a bundle of snow all night long.
But you'd do it again, wouldn't you?
Oh, I'd do it all over. If I could turn back the hands of time, I'd turn them back very quick. Because, see, I'm not very bright, but I'm not dull either. I'm not the brightest light on the Christmas tree, but some things in life we got to accept as it is. Take time and stop and smell the roses. Because God put us on earth for one reason, and one reason only, I think. He put us on earth to help each other through this life we're living. Because there's life after death,
Yep. That's a good way to bring it full circle, Bob. I always say the same thing to my daughter and everyone else and my son, that stop and smell the roses. You get away on a vacation, you get anywhere where you're in a good place, stop, take a breath, remember where you are so that you can summon that place up when you're in a hard spot, just to remind yourself that you were there.
When I work with the council, I would be down on Water Street, Duck Street, wherever, and people was out on the street. We call them street people, and I'd put my hand in my pocket. If I had $5, I'd give them the $5 to help them out, sleeping on the sidewalks. And that. See, that's what's wrong with society. the people are too greedy, and greed, more greed and more greed, grow and grow. As a fungus will grow in a human being, and it'll end up killing them.
Yeah, well, I go back to what you said. The kindness will overtake the greed and the meanness and the haters and other people that have mentioned that this morning too. More kindness, Bob. I'm with you 100%. Got to get off to a break. Greg's going to throw me out of here, and maybe a lot of people wouldn't mind that. Bob, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Stay safe.
We got to have money to live. We know that.
Absolutely.
But we don't need a big pile.
Nope.
Overnight.
Thanks, Bob. Take care. Oh, okay. Greg, what do you want to do? Take that break? Yeah, okay. Off to the break and be right back.
This is Open Line on the VOCM Big Land FM radio network.
Welcome back to Open Line. Let's go right to line number 3. And Dennis Butt, the mayor of Badger, you are on the air.
Good morning.
Good morning. Is it a good morning? How is what's the situation this morning? I guess get the very latest from you. I guess probably one of the most important things, is there still a boil water advisory in place?
There is, yes.
Okay, so what's the status there, Mayor Butt?
So the water levels are trending in the right direction. They're trending downward, but some of the issue we've been seeing the last number of days, 2 or 3 days, is that we see a decline at midnight until mid-afternoon. And then mid-afternoon till in the evening, the water levels rise again. So some of the gain that we achieve overnight, you lose throughout the day. But the last 3 days, the decrease is still greater than the increase. But obviously, it's happening a lot slower than what we would like. And the levels are still high, still hovering around just below the 1 in 20-year flood levels.
Wow, and we know it's unfortunately an annual rate unfortunately. What is the status with displaced residents at this point? So, first of all, just as an update for people who haven't been following it every day, how many people are out of their homes, and where are they right now?
Yeah, so the numbers that we have were 110 homes. Roughly 180 individuals. So the numbers from the Red Cross, they're a little bit lower for individuals that are registered. So perhaps maybe some people haven't registered. They're probably staying with friends and family. So if they haven't, we still encourage them to do so. So their numbers are hovering around 85 families that they have registered, 100, and I don't have the exact numbers in front of me. They're written down back in my office. 176 perhaps individuals. They're utilizing 20-something hotels, housing 50-something people. So individuals who are in hotels, unfortunately, on Friday of last week, they had to go to Gander, Bishop, Starwood, Lewiswood, those areas, because the hotels in Grand Falls were booked up over the weekend. But those individuals have since made their way back to Grand Falls. So all but one family are in Grand Falls, that other families in Bishop Falls. So they're all closer to Badger, so that's an update on that.
Yeah, they had the minor hockey tournaments and stuff, right? So there's not much you can do there. The rooms are already booked up and that sort of thing. So was there an effort to try to, was there any coordination with those hotels? Like, did you get on the ground with them and say, look, they're moving out now, how many do you need? Like, was there a concerted coordination there, or was it just trying to find whatever space you could?
Yeah, I'd say there was. Now, that's the wheelhouse of the Canadian Red Cross. Yeah. So, they've been on the ground since day one. So, yeah, they've had their finger on the pulse with regards to accommodations, ensuring to prioritize individuals who had health-related needs, mobility needs, etc. So, yeah, we've been in constant contact and getting regular updates from them, as well as the provincial departments who work closely with them. So, yeah, they've been doing a wonderful job, but obviously wonderful, but still frustrating for residents who are displaced because, obviously they're not in their home. So, they still have that frustrating piece and still, worrying and wondering when they can return home.
Yeah, and I guess that's the question. So the people who are watching this, have they given you any indication? I mean, it's so hard to, I guess, predict of what's going to happen when. You did mention that there are times of the day when it'll recede and then you'll lose some of those gains and it'll come back up again. But what's the best prediction about what could happen here? And do you need anything?
Well, I'm not going to make a prediction because the experts they were consulting with the provincial water resources and others, they can't predict it either, so I don't think I'll be in a place to do so. I can just speak to facts, which I guess, I guess since last week, not Friday gone, the Friday before, we were seeing gradual, maybe even a few days prior to that, we were seeing gradual increases in the river. So increases, then they would recede a bit and level off, increase, recede a bit, level off. So then we got to the point where the levels were that high when we had water levels peak. Then that's when they entered the town. They were going up the roadways. That resulted in the state of emergency and evacuation order. So what we're seeing now is a steady decline in the water levels. So that's trending in the right direction. So by all accounts, if that continues, we're headed in the right place. And I know that we lose some of those gains in the afternoons, but it's still we're still making gains, even though we're losing it a bit of it throughout the day that we gain overnight. So it's all positive. And if it continues in that direction, then that's where we want to keep heading.
I'm not going to keep you long. I know you're busy, and we're a little bit past news. I just asked you last question, like yearly, everything. This can happen every year. Is there anything that can be done to be more proactive or to prepare for this year in, year out to avoid this kind of state of emergency?
Yeah, and that's a great question as well. I know last year we had a little situation where there was just a small section of town down on Beothuk Street and River Road, which were some of the higher impacted areas, and a lot of people chose to relocate after 03. We had that situation last year, and then obviously to a greater magnitude this year. This is the first time that we've been dealing with this since 03, so it's been 23 years. What can be done with regards to some sort of infrastructure or to mitigate some of the risks with regards to ice formation, ice fronts, all those pieces? Water levels on those three rivers. That's a question I don't have an answer to. I know that we've spoken to government officials and committed to having conversations after this is over to see what can be looked at. But I'm sure over the years there's been numerous conversations about what could be done. I know that I spoke to a few individuals who were actually involved in situations back in maybe the early to mid 70s where dynamite was used, those pieces, but obviously there's an environment and conservation piece that's attached to that, and I don't even know if it was effective back then. I guess have to speak to the individuals who were involved. So it's a great question. I don't really have an answer to it, but it's something worth discussing, I guess, once we're out of this situation and moving forward.
Yeah, we'll have all summer to hang out at a resort and discuss it, away from all of this kind of stuff. Mayor Butt, appreciate the time, as always. So now we can say, for now, stable. Is that a fair description?
Stable for now is a fair description, but still not out of the woods. The levels are still high. They're still high. They're still over the riverbank. So we're cautiously optimistic. We're headed in the right direction, and we want that to continue. But we thought we were out of the woods on Thursday of last week, and then we had that sudden peak, and then that resulted in currently the situation that we're in now. So we just want to remain cautious. I don't want to give any false reassurance to residents. The facts are we're headed in the right direction. If that continues, then that's all positive. And there's no way to predict how the river's going to act. But we're headed in the right direction, and let's just keep our fingers crossed that continues.
Fingers and toes, everybody. Mayor Dennis Butt of Badger, thanks. I really appreciate the time. I know you're a busy man out there. Keep us posted on any new developments, by all means.
Absolutely, and you're very welcome.
Thank you again for the time. All right, way over the break. I'm Dead Meat.
This is Open Line on the VOCM Big Land FM radio network.
Welcome back to the show. Joining us now in studio, in and out of the blustery conditions, our own VOCM reporter, Zach Power. Zach, how's it going?
Hi, not too bad. How are you?
I'm safe and cozy in here, and I can see there's one window. If you look straight through the studio, you can see Kenmount Terrace. Well, I say you can see it. 1 second you can, and the next second you can't. It looks like the snow's kind of let off a bit, just as a bit of a reprieve, but it's coming back, isn't it?
Yeah, it's certainly coming and going all throughout the morning. I think what we've noticed now is the wind has certainly picked up, at least in the past hour or two. You're starting to see a lot of that. So anything that's basically fallen within the past half hour or so is just simply blowing around. We know that this is just a small pocket of reprieve, and it's going to come back again for the better part of the afternoon, and it could be mere moments time, I guess, before that picks up once again. But yeah, you're starting to see some of that snow blow around now.
Yeah, and it just seems it's kind of an odd dynamic, but it just doesn't see much buildup on at least Kenmount Road because it's being swept across it and not accumulating there. But that's strictly just the winds.
Exactly, yeah. And I was looking out onto Kenmount Terrace there as well, and you could see some of those side roads. It looks like they have a small cut there, but certainly for parts of like Kenmount Road and some of those major thoroughfares, they do have a little bit more of a second cut or maybe a consistent plow. But as of right now, there's still a lot of roads in St. John's that are just tricky right now.
Yeah, I'd say most of the ones downtown are in that category. I would say they're going to wait till this abates a little bit before they get into the cow paths that are down there right now. Few cancellations. What else you got there?
Yeah, certainly a few cancellations. If you're looking to get out and about and, hopefully if you're trying to go out and get some groceries, you may have some issues there. Places like Sobeys, Shoppers Drug Mart, we're getting a lot of those cancellations. Some of those secondary, not so essential stores. I think about the Kents of the world. They're currently closed. We're hearing some reports that there are some grocery stores out and about that are open, and you might be able to find a Tim Hortons if you look hard enough. But as of right now, there's not a whole lot open and around the St. John's metro region. Even some of those fast food places like the McDonald's of the world, they're also closed at this hour. We know that Metrobus is off the road. NLC stores are currently closed. Scotiabanks and regular banks as well, mostly closed. Government offices, federal government offices, all closed at this hour, and as well as a number of doctors' offices as well. And you can kind of see that out on Kenmount Road right now. My office looks over Kenmount Road, and I've worked early morning a lot in Kenmount Road, and I've never seen this little traffic in a long time. So it's certainly a lot of people are heeding to some of the warnings out there. We've heard from Councillor Greg Noseworthy earlier on in the program, who said that if you don't need to be out, then you shouldn't be out. So that's something to consider as well. If you don't need to be out, if you don't need to get out and try to find that one Timmy's, it might be a good morning to just stay home.
That's a hard thing to do for a lot of people, which is why I buy the Tassimo Tims,
Yeah.
So it's doubled in price in the past year, mind you, but it's nice to have just in case you can't get out of the house.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one thing that we've seen at the grocery stores in and around town is a lot of people have stocked up on essentials, and that's part of our VOCM question of the day as well. Oh.
And we just lost our power. Well, we just lost lights. We're going to keep going. I think we're still on the air. And if you have batteries and you just lost anything, we are still on the air. And they're back again. That was quick.
That's generator, baby.
And we have to stop tempting fate here and talking about.
Well, you know what? And that's a lot of what these grocery stores have been seeing, and a lot of what we were noticing. At least, I know that my girlfriend ended up going down to Walmart yesterday, and the first thing she said is the battery aisle, the candle aisle is completely shelved out.
The chip aisle?
The chip aisle, yeah, and the frozen pizza section, all a part of what's been part of these clearouts. And I guess in some people for a good case, because, there's certainly a number of outages now that we're starting to hear of. We talked about Long Pond a little bit earlier on in the program, and with a lot of these grocery stores closed, a lot of people just opting to stay in. And, we've been hearing from Environment Canada as well. This snow will continue around. They're talking about anywhere from 35 to 50 centimeters or even more in some of those pockets. And of course, if you're along any southern facing portions of the island, or maybe you're along a coastline, the storm surge, the flooding there, the coastal flooding is a big issue that they're watching as well. We're seeing some pictures in from Harbor Breton with the water just coming up right up over the wharf there a little bit. So again, something to be mindful of if you're in and around any sort of waterways, or if you do have to go out, and I say have is the key word, just be careful driving out there.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously the less vehicles on the road, the quicker they can get that work done and get them cleared. But by all accounts, it's best just to wait it out until later tonight, or as the Environment Canada meteorologist David Neal mentioned, tomorrow morning might be your best bet if you want to take out a shovel. It's hard to think about it because I'm the type of person who wants to get out and at it, but it doesn't look like it'll help much at this point. Zach Power, thanks very much, man. Get back at it. Let us know if there's anything else to pass along. And Greg, we're right up to break, so we'll take that and come back with Headley. And we're going to talk about the fixed link right after the break.
This is Open Line on the VOCM Big Land FM radio network.
Welcome back to the show. And just before we get to Headley on line 2, I'm going to welcome into the studio another hearty member of our staff here, from all the way from your VOCM Mornings, co-host Russell Bowers. Good morning, Russell. How are you?
Brian, long-time listener, first-time caller. How are you?
Good one. We're getting through, trucking through, and I say trucking through, I mean, well, jeeping through in my case.
Yeah, that was about it for me this morning. I was up at 3, and I normally am up around that time, and I'm usually in here by 4:30 or so, but this morning I came in a bit early, and this was sort of the big test. I bought one of those electric vehicles last year, and you know how everyone says, oh, those things are terrible in winter. So I was mindful of that. But I got up this morning, everything started fine. The preheat was on for me, and it was a bit of a tank getting through the streets this morning. Now, we didn't have that much in the way of accumulation at maybe 4 or 5 centimeters tops.
And that was what, around 4?
Around 4 a.m.
Yep.
And then I even managed to make it over to where my co-host, Jerry Lynn Mackey, lives. Managed to get up and down her street. So, I'm grateful that the tires worked and the vehicle got me through the snow this morning. So if you've got a hardy vehicle like that, it's good to know. It's always this is a situation where you think back to all those moments. I don't know what you were like when you were a kid, but you get the little power outages, sometimes longer power outages. And we used to have a lantern in the house. You know those old-fashioned lanterns? We used to have one of those kerosene lanterns that we used to light. So it brings back those kinds of memories of trying to stay cozy and warm in these situations.
Yeah. Have you been out now? And I won't keep you long here, but have you been out since then? And the difference between 4 a.m. and 11 a.m.?
A lot more accumulation. And you're seeing the plows and private and public are out everywhere trying to stay
But I guess
on top
overall,
of this, right?
is it a big storm right now?
Oh, yeah. Like, I think someone last night described it as half a snowmageddon by the time this is all done by tomorrow night. So, again, I guess the main message for a lot of people is like, if you don't have to be out, this is a day to stay in. Don't feel like you got to get somewhere because nothing's open anyway. And so unless it's an emergency, and, especially I remember talking to Darren Bent this morning, mayor of CBS, and he said they just need people off the streets because if you get out and get stuck in the snow, you could be blocking emergency vehicles somewhere down the road. So that's the biggest thing to keep in mind for today, Brian.
Yep. Heeding that warning, stay off the road, let them get the work done. And, of course, if there's others you need to check in on, find a proper way to do that. Thanks, Russell, very much.
Right, we'll see you tomorrow morning.
There you go. Yes, absolutely. Hopefully, we all get in. I mean, it looks to have petered out by then. Let's go right to line number 2. And Headley, thanks for your patience. You're on the air.
No problem, Brian. Good morning to you.
How are you?
Yeah, before I get, Brian, to my reason for calling this morning, I want to say that I listen to your Hope and Line show every chance that I get. But there's nothing drives me any more berserk than listen to the opposition government side getting on and telling the existing government how to run their affairs and how to spend their money. How stupid do they think the people is in Newfoundland and Labrador with those people that's calling is the people that just got out of the productive chair that got the state of the province that is in today. And I don't understand why they're getting at it. I mean, shut up and let the government, let the existing government get to work on their agenda, and they got work to do, and so on and so forth. But anyway, that's my rant. But anyway, sorry to hear about your bad weather too as well. We got a beautiful day in Labrador today. Probably that's what you're soon going to have to do, pack up and come to Labrador. But anyway, Brian.
I got no problem with that.
I'm sure you haven't. No, I guarantee you, buddy. But anyway, my reason for calling this morning is, the last little while in turning on the TV and the news and so on and so forth, where we're hearing problems with Marine Atlantic crossing the food and the vegetables and so on and so forth. And we even got problems here in the Straits as well with the ferry here. We even actually back in, I think last week or early part of last week, I think they announced that there'd be no crossing on the 4th and 5th because of the sea state and the ice pressure in the Straits. Now, come on. You know what I mean, right? So anyway, Brian, airing all the news clips and so on and so forth about the crossing in the Cabot Straits and the Erin Straits, I don't understand. And every now and again, we do get a little dig in on the fixed link. But the media will not bite. And I don't understand the reasons for that. Because, I mean, the fixed link, now we do, I even heard last week that about a committee being formed, that was going to lobby Marine Atlantic now on tourism and so on and so forth. And there's so much that the fixed link could take care of. But the media will not bite on that, okay? And even with the fixed link that's trying to get across the straits here, okay, just let me say to you, this will not cost the government not one red penny. All that they're asking for to put a fixed link across the Strait of Ball here, right, all that we're asking for is just permits to be able to come across the straits. Now, I know it's probably going to take some effect on Port aux Basques, but it's not going to take a drastic effect on Port aux Basques. The ferry is still going to be needed in the Cabot Strait. Now, Woodward's give and take. Okay, well, you're talking about a $144 million 12-year contract there. Absolutely, right? And with the ferry that's crossed there, there's questionable, and I'm not sure if she should be crossing the straits here in Labrador. But anyway, having said all this, Brian, I mean, a lot of the problems that we're hearing in the media today that can be taken care of if we had a fixed link. And I don't understand. I absolutely don't understand. It's mind-boggling sometimes to me that when we hear a little tingle, with the fixed link, but the media won't take it and go with it. And I don't understand that, because if the media take it and blow it up like they do with some of the other stuff, because this is a good news story. I mean, this is a good news story, and the media, questionable too. But anyway, I don't understand why they don't take it and go with it.
I think the primary reason is, Headley, is that this story, first of all, has been in the media. We have covered it. I've covered it for, I'd say, on and off 35 years. But I take your point. I mean, the talk of it seems absolutely a slam dunk to you, and especially people living in Labrador. The problem is not so much because there's not as much of the dependence. Yes, there was a ferry coalition that was announced last week by a group of business people like Hospitality Newfoundland, Board of Trade, Municipalities NL, Atlantic Chamber of Commerce, what's one I'm missing? Retail Council of Canada. They all came together, and they're going to lobby. Do what they are supposed. What they do is get a coalition, strength in numbers, write the MPs and that sort of thing. And I mean, again, it's important, these groups of people, because when you can't do it on one-offs, you need power. There's strength in numbers. So they held that last week. But as far as the media goes, I mean, it's such a recurring issue, and seems like such a straightforward issue to the people who most want it or to the people who don't want it. Whenever we cover it, you got to be careful with the coverage of it. I mean, look, the actual the proposal that went before, what do we call it? The proposed fixed link and the study that was done on it. I think the last one was like 2018, 2017, something like that. There was a feasibility study done. We wrote it. We did all kinds of stories on that. But, it's hard to judge how serious a story is sometimes, because it raises its head in the news sometimes. But, it's either those, there's no definitive decisions on it. There's no movement on it. No, news, actual news, other than the fact that the fixed link is being talked about again, and the same people are discounting it and the same people are promoting it.
Yeah, but see, there's nobody I don't know for anybody that don't want it. Only the people that got a personal gain in there, right? And I mean, like the general public in itself, and the transportation absolutely wants it, crazy, and the tourists wants it, and the general public. I mean, they like us people here in Labrador would absolutely do us wonderful here. I mean, I do a little bit of traveling back and forth to St. John's, but none of y'all would like any better than when I jump aboard my vehicle and leave St. John's and come on home. I say, okay, boys, I'm going to drive right up my driveway tonight, or when I get back home, and so on and so forth. But no, I got to come down. I got another asshole I got to face. I got to come down to St. Barb and wonder if the ferry is going to cross today, or because of the sea state, or because of a little swell in the straits, or because of other problems. So I mean, it is so much there that we can fix with the fixed thing that I absolutely don't understand it. And my part of the biggest is the fact that why can't we get permits when there's companies out there that is ready and willing to put that fixed thing there with a toll and so on and so forth. I understand. We know what happened to Confederation Bridge in PEI, so I mean that was a godsend, and I mean I'm sure that if it come a day that we do get a fixed thing, that would be a wonderful godsend as well.
Well, look, it's been I think the most likely recommendation was for to bore tunnel. Electric rail sort of shuttle things to underneath the link in that form. But, it's been so pie in the sky for so long, whether or not it's the cost. I think last check, close to $3 billion maybe, and that was just a few years ago. That was the investment, even more than that now. I think, let me see, I'm just doing off the top of my head. I think maybe been up to $5 billion now, an estimate. So I think even though, as you said, it's just the permits and it could be privately funded, it's been so pie in the sky, and then you get the detractors who'll come out and say it won't make a difference, like the drive that you would have to make would actually cost just as much or more, out of the way, that the only real benefactor would be Labrador. Well, what's wrong with that? But is that enough to actually get it over the finish line? There are so many issues, and because of that, it gets media coverage, but it's never been a definitive story that, until there's a story that says they're building it, it's going to be a while before it hits front page.
Yeah, well, I don't see it just benefiting Labrador, because I mean, it's like just told with what been in the news lately, it's been with the food crossing and so on and so forth, and tourism.
Yes.
I mean, especially, we get a very low percentage of the people that crosses the Gulf that travels the Northern Peninsula to Lansing Meadows that do take the ferry and come across here. So I mean, that would certainly help tourism as well. So we got a UNESCO site there in Red Bay, and I mean we're not getting the tourist attraction there that we should be getting if we had a tunnel. But anyway, Brian,
and they still and they still talk about it as being a nation building project. Food security, lower cost of goods, increased tourism, as you said. A thousand different reasons, but the challenges are there too. And there'll be a lot of infrastructure work. Who gets that and how it's done and the timelines. It just seems like too big a project that anyone wants to lay their hat on right now, still. It's sputtered and sputtered and sputtered. Maybe it'll be like Gull Island. We'll finally get an MOU, and then somebody will park that too.
No, but I do believe, I often say it during election time and so on and so forth. The media can make or break, okay? And I say it to this effect as well. Yeah. In regards to the tunnel here, if the media took it, if somebody took it and blow it up to where it's supposed to be, I think that would make some some government eyes open. Yeah. So I have to say that. So
no, appreciate it. We need some solid movement so we can make a solid news story out of it. Headley, thanks a lot for the call. Appreciate it. A little over the break. I'm going to be really roasted after this show.
Thank you very much as well.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Greg, off to the break.
This is Open Line on the VOCM Big Land FM radio network.
In the home stretch for this stormy Monday. And Greg, you got a couple of updates there for some cancellations?
Yeah, let's get to a few lists here from the Storm Watch page. Thanks to our friends at Marks. You can visit them at their locations on Kelsey Drive and in Galway. Workplace NL offices in St. John's and Grand Falls, Windsor are closed for the remainder of the day for in-person services. Of course, staff are available to help through their phone lines, 1-800-563-9000. So just a heads up on that one there. Knights of Columbus men's darts, St. Clair Avenue going to be canceled for tonight. Provincial government offices out in Grand Falls, Windsor are going to remain closed for the rest of the day. The Killick Health Services in Grand Falls, Windsor will remain closed now for the rest of the day. And the Harmsworth Public Library in Grand Falls, Windsor will remain closed for the rest of the day. And we did have a news story that we kind of put on hold this morning, Brian, because we were pretty sure this was going to be canceled. So here's the word on it. The information sessions for high school students and their parents and guardians scheduled for tonight with Memorial University for prospective students. That's now been canceled. The information sessions will be rescheduled to let you know as soon as possible. And one last one here. The courts in St. John's, including the Provincial Court, Supreme Court, the Court of Appeal, the Sheriff's Office, and Family Justice Services will remain closed for the remainder of today. Again, all that and more VOCM.com.
Woohoo! That it's a relief for me because it was killing me. There's a bunch of good, well, I shouldn't say good, important court stories down there today, and I would have been missing all of it, but I'll miss it all tomorrow. What the hell? And I've got one more education-related one. Holy Heart, their staff professional learning day for report card preparations was, of course, canceled today because of the weather. So that professional learning day was canceled. It's going to be moved to tomorrow, which means students, and this is Holy Heart message I have. It could be for other schools as well. I don't know if others had the same professional learning day, but I'll just say specifically, at least for Holy Heart, tomorrow there will be no school because they're going to move that professional learning day to tomorrow. So no school tomorrow for students as well. So it's 2 days in a row. And any remaining, by the way, exams scheduled for tomorrow, the 3rd of February, they're now going to be rescheduled until Wednesday the 4th, so the next day. So I know it's a lot to take in. If you're not quite sure, you can always give us a shout or check our storm page. Sponsored by Marks, of course, as Greg said. Let's go. A couple more callers left before we call it a day here today. And appropriately enough, let's talk more snow clearing. Rob, in line 1, you're on the air.
How are you doing this morning?
We are getting through. It's the old saying, it feels like uphill both ways.
Yes. I have to disagree with your comment there, saying wait until it's all over and then start clearing, because the snow is getting so heavy now, and I was out at 6 o'clock this morning and got my driveway cleared. Now I don't have a huge driveway or nothing, but there's enough to it. And if you want emergency services to get into your place, you need to have it done. I'm here with a couple of elderly people that live here, and you got to keep up with it. Don't leave it till it stops, because it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, and I'd certainly take no issue with what you're saying. I mean, that's, to be clear, certainly wasn't suggesting everybody just leave it and battle it later. Those who can or can afford to, and I don't mean financially, I mean, as you just said, there are people who have to have 24-hour access, and you can't leave it. That's a luxury, really, for many. I guess I probably should have prefaced it that way. Even when I was talking to David Neal from Environment Canada, just to say, but you're absolutely right. I'm just saying I guess for clarity, I certainly didn't say that might be everybody's cup of tea or everybody can do that. And you make the point right there, which is an important one, which is the value of open line. Anybody at all can disagree with what I have to say. That's the beauty of this. And that's an important mention to make, because as you said, if you need that, at the very least you need access to your house in the case of an emergency. I was thinking more about tackling that old driveway that maybe not you can let go of until later on because, well, you're working, or maybe you can't get back there. But obviously in an emergency situation and those in need, I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, no, that's the whole thing but just keeping up with it for your own health, because like right now it's turned to rain, and you can't even get a shovel full, and it's just weighted right down and everything like that. Like I was out at 6 o'clock this morning, like I said, and I got most of it done, which I'm glad. The plow just went through again, so now I got to go out and do the windrow at the end of the driveway. But it's just you got to keep up with it if you can. And like, there's no sense to being on the roads, it's just no sense of it all. I went out for a little scoot around where I'm to here in CBS, and the roads just aren't fit to be on.
Yeah, and look, I'm with you. I'm really, over the top with the shoveling. My neighbors will tell you I'm out there at 2. If I'm up, I love to get ahead of it. I love so that when I go out the next morning, it's not all built up. But sometimes it's really impossible. Like today, I won't be getting back to my house probably till later this evening, if not tomorrow morning. So God help me what awaits me. But I'm with you. I'd never like to see it build up. If I can get a start on it, if I can get in the middle of it and clean it up before it gets worse, that's the way I am. But I guess sometimes that's not always possible, hey?
Yeah, no, that's the whole thing. Like the snowblowers won't even do anything right now because it's all soaking wet. It's just a bunch of slush now. And but anyways, everybody be well, and take your time. If you're out there shoveling, take your time.
Yeah, thanks for great the mention too. An update on the rain that puts it into perspective. It's going to be like bricks. Thanks again. Really appreciate it, Rob. Take care.
Okay.
Take care.
Off to the last break for the day, and we'll be right back.
This is Open Line on the VOCM Big Land FM radio network.
Welcome back to the program on this Monday, Groundhog Day. Man, does it ever feel like it. So, Greg, you ever see the movie?
I have, and I'm praying for an early spring, which apparently most of these groundhogs who have been out today are predicting, which bring it on.
That's what I was going to ask you. Can you bring us some breaking news? What are the I think the three trifecta, the Wyerton, Willie,
I think they all said early spring from what I saw earlier, yeah. I could be wrong, but, I mean, maybe I'm just delusional at this rate.
Wishful thinking by the sounds of it. What's so let's have a quick check-in some of the more important cancellations, maybe?
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff going on. Obviously, as everyone knows, the Metrobus Go Bus came off the road very early on today, the Avalon Mall and all the schools and stuff, and then getting some updates and the courts and stuff closing for the day. A whole bunch of different things with the rec facilities and all the major, municipalities in and around the metro area. They're going to be remaining closed for the day. So we'll keep a close eye on all that through VOCM.com. Pretty much, I think everything that's said that they're going to have an update by now have done updates, except for a few small ones. So we'll keep track of all of that. Just got a couple of notes coming in here, obviously by text messages and stuff saying, went out with the snowblower, crazy, heavy, and deep, and the street's not even drivable yet. And that one's coming from Ken Mountain Terrace. So, if you want to go try to tackle the driveway, I mean, yeah, just take your time out there. Jerry Lynn and Russ will have a good conversation tomorrow morning about, handling the snow, the shoveling and the snow blowing and the hazards to your heart health and stuff around that. So that's one to tune in tomorrow, because that's what most of us will get the majority of this taken care of will be tomorrow morning.
It's just trying to find the time and then the right time.
Yeah.
Because you might not necessarily have the right time to go out and do it. But the point being made, I think it was Rob in a call just a few minutes ago about that. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's cement now, so you can imagine what it's... And that just makes it that much worse on the roads, because it's not... You can't even get any traction. Earlier this morning when we all came in, it was pretty much just hard and blowing across Ken Mountain.
It was pretty quick, too, how it all picked up, right? Like, I mean, we stayed down the road last night, 1 o'clock. I woke up, looked outside, wasn't a whole lot on the go, a little few flakes of snow on the go. Woke up at 3, it was just white. We drove up, myself and Sarah, around 4. Roads weren't bad, couldn't really see. You guys came up, pretty much the same situation then, but it was just continuous snow blowing, and the winds are picking up again out there now, is what I'm seeing a couple of folks saying on social media and through some of the texts we're getting. So the winds pick up, it makes it a bit more blustery.
And it's so funny, it depends on where you're... I mean, for us downtown, you can tell if it's a nor'easter, then the whole left side of my vehicle is going to be invisible within, the 24 hours that the snow falls. This morning, every vehicle next to mine in the parking lot next to the hotel, all one side was just. So there's a strategy to that, right? If you know the way to Winslow, you can direct your vehicle a certain way so that it doesn't take the brunt of it. But there's still vehicles out there with a foot of snow on the roof.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a recipe for disaster.
One quick note, Brian. Well, while we got a bit of time, this came into our text messages, and I think we had a conversation about this on Open Line last week. There was a missing black lab for the Burgess Junction area,
Right.
That black lab is still missing. We got a message on that this morning. Gone since January 22nd, likely traveling elsewhere by now, obviously. Could be a good hike away, anywhere from Whipper to Cochrane Pond. But a reminder to the listeners, if you're out and about, I mean, obviously you're not driving today, but if you see anything, an 8-year-old black lab with some gray around his mouth, wearing a red and black collar with a tag on it. There's a little reminder from someone there this morning about that dog, Cy. Seen a lot of stuff on social media the last little while too, so reiterate that one for folks.
Yeah, and if there's any consolation to that, it's easier to find a black lab than a white husky in this weather.
100%.
So there is that might help in some way. I don't know. The visibility has me doubtful as well. And again, as David Neal had said earlier, this isn't going away anytime soon. If you're looking out going, it doesn't look too bad right now, it's it's just that little lull of the heavy wet stuff coming now, and then the other stuff's coming back around. I think you mentioned it was kind of like on the north coast, and it's going to come and make a full circle and come back down around and hit us again. Yay. Right. So the plan for the rest of the day, we'll be on the air full nonstop as we are. Claudette in the afternoon. We'll have updates throughout the afternoon.
Yeah, Sarah's on the way, obviously, with the major news. We'll recap some of the conversations from Open Line and other conversations from the morning with weather top of mind here. Claudette's in. I'll be around this evening, keeping everything up to date. VOCM.com as well. Of course, Storm Watch in full swing. Again, thanks to our friends at Mark's. Visit them in Kelsey Drive, Galway locations, bringing you Storm Watch again. Just a quick note, Corona College out in Grand Falls. Windsor just sent a note. They are closed for the day. We're going to remain closed due to the weather, but their ABE online courses do continue. Again, that and many other cancellations. The list is long today at VOCM.com.
It really is. And I guess the other, the next thing to think about is what's going on tomorrow morning, because for some people, it could be another snow day. I know that some schools are going to, it just takes...
There will probably be some delays at the bottom of it, you know what I mean? Maybe even some closures, but it's going to be an early rise to see what's happening tomorrow. So we'll be on top of that rolling into tomorrow. I mean, the snow should stop overnight, but then there's the cleanup and everything else that comes with it.
And we all know all the talk of how it's not just fluffy stuff. It's going to be a lot harder to remove. And then there's the question of sidewalks and that kind of thing, and whether or not they would be in any shape for schools to properly and safely open, and even just the width of roads, school buses and all that sort of thing, especially downtown around Holy Heart, Brother Rice, St. Bon's, it's already tight quarters, so the driving down there is going to be... and speaking of that, just a reminder, Metrobus Go Bus not operating. NLC head office, distribution center, that's provincial government office, all provincial government offices. Just going to run down through a couple of people who have been sending me notes about... I know a couple of friends said they don't have internet right now. Can I run down? Service Canada, all closed. Metro area schools, of course. Let's see, Lakecrest is closed. St. John's, Munn, Marine Institute, Signal Hill campuses, including the Child Care Centre, they're all closed. I said St. Bonaventures. Great Canadian Dollar Store, that's out. Avalon Mall, of course. Academy Canada, no mass at the Basilica today. The Basilica and its offices are closed, actually. What else you got there, Greg? What else?
I just saw something popping up here now as I refresh the page here. Let's see. Okay, here we go. The forestry offices out in Beta Spear, Bishop Falls, Lewisport, Gander, Gambo, Winterland, and Clarenville are all going to be closed for the remaining part of today. So just a heads up on that. That's the forestry offices through Beta Spear, Bishop Falls, Lewisport, Gander, Gambo, Winterland, and as well as Clarenville going to be closed for the rest of the day.
Knights of Columbus men's darts canceled tonight. I don't know what anyone's going to do. It sounds like it's going to be a shed. Could be a shed night. What?
You could be listening to me.
Listening to you. Princess Auto closed for the day. Tops Road Medical Clinic, Tops Road Cohen's Home Furnishings, the SPCA Thrift Store, Valley Medical Office, Hair Factory in Churchill Square closed. Just about. I mean, unless it's almost getting to the point now. Evergreen Recycling Depots. It's getting to the point now. It's what's open.
Yeah. The Ship Pub just announced they're going to stay closed for the evening, so there's nothing happening at the Ship tonight. Again, VOCM.com. Stormwatch will continue. Zach Power has been updating things as they've been coming in throughout the course of the morning. So we're going to keep a very tight look at everything because, I mean, most things are closed now, but the thing is now any events or anything, like we saw the MUN had a session for prospective students tonight. That's been postponed, so they're going to have that rescheduled at another time. White Rose Pharmacy is going to be closed for the rest of the day. Sobeys in Mount Pearl is now closed. They're going to have another update at 4, and that's pretty much all Metro Sobeys locations are doing that today. We'll keep a close eye as hopefully there might be a lull at some point that things get a little bit back to normal if you need some supplies. But as our question of the day has been asking, did you prepare? And it seems like a 50-50 split right now.
Yeah, and the groundhogs, I think they're wishful thinking. It's very too positive. I was going to say, people wonder about branches. I was wondering about my branch this morning, and banks sometimes can do strange things, but the RBC branches in the mall in the Avalon are closed today, just so you know, and the Dynamic Physio and Wellness Discovery Center. Thrive is closed for the day. U-Haul closed for the day. If you're going to try to haul your snowblower somewhere, that's probably not going to work. Furlong Dental and Associates, the Elaine Dobbins Center for Autism, of course, St. John's Association of the Single Parents Association of NL, St. John's Arts and Culture Center as well. I know, people got rehearsals going on for shows and that sort of thing. Apparently the building's closed, but of course check with your own organizations and shows that you may be putting off. Of course, big Frozen show's coming up out there soon in March. Carl Eustace's office, I know a few people who use that fine chiropractor. Newfoundland Vinters Winery, Lakeview Chiropractor, William Brown Denture Clinic, and the list goes on. So, keep it here at VO. As you know, this is what we do best. And if you have something, by all means, give us a shout. All of our numbers there are right there on our webpage. And we've got a well-stocked newsroom. They're taking the calls, not just an email and not just social media kind of stuff. We can absolutely get whatever it is that you need to get out there. And if you want to give us a shout, I got another couple of minutes here if there's something that you needed to get on at the last second. And of course, yes, the courts are closed as well. I got another note about that. which saves me a lot of catching up later on in the week. Of course, there are some big cases coming up at the end of this week that I've been covering pretty closely. The Austin Deer sentencing is coming up this Friday in the courts. Of course, I'll be covering that for VOCM. I had my whole list here, and then it blotted out because that's what happens on stormy days like this. Right, Sarah Strickland? How are you? How many days to spring training?
Oh, I think it's like, what are we, second? So it's usually around Valentine's.
You mean you don't know?
I don't know exactly, no.
Is that because Bo left, or is you just don't have the interest? Or?
I'm not routed about that at all. I think that the Mets overpaid for Bichette. I think that his injury was probably a bit more worse than we know. I think the Jays knew something. Most
hits in the league last 2 years. It's hard, and to see him go before him and Vladdy really, I mean, they just came so close. It kind of surprised me. I will say it surprised me that Bo Bichette left the Jays. Only because of how close they came, and now they have everything they always needed, and he hightails it. His choice. It'll be interesting to see what kind of reception he gets.
It's following the money because he said when he joined the Mets, they had the whole press conference that he came to win. He thought the Mets were a winning team. Like, no, if you thought you had the best chance of winning, you would have stayed a team that made the World Series, was 1 out away from winning it all.
And listen to your own Mets broadcasters. The sarcasm they have with that team, everything they did last year, and look what happened.
They crumbled at the last minute.
So, I mean, it makes you wonder why you'd go to there instead of, I mean, I get it. You know, he's many years, you want to test the market and play in a big market. Who doesn't want to play in New York or L.A., that sort of thing, in the big market, out of the Canadian shadow? That's all fine. He's got his reasons. He's more entitled to it. All right, I love talking a bit of baseball, so especially in this weather. Can't wait for some spring training, first pitch. Folks, that's going to do it for Open Line today on